So can you imagine for a moment that feeling when you're driving along and suddenly you can see in your rearview mirror there's a police officer right behind you, trailing your car for blocks, really close. And you think, God, I can't think of anything I've done wrong. What's going on? And you can't think of anything you've done wrong at all, but that feeling of dread sets in. So that was the feeling I had in the fall of 2007 when I received a letter from the Ohio Board of Medicine. You see, a few months before, I had finished 10 years of medical training, medical school, residency, fellowship, and I had just arrived in Ohio to start my first job as a staff physician at Cincinnati Children's Hospital. I moved to the Midwest suburbs, I bought a big house, settled in with my dog. Now, I did have $120,000 in student debt, and I didn't have much in the way of savings, but still, life was great. My job started July 1st, and I settled into the business of just learning how to be a physician on a day-to-day basis. It's very intimidating. So then comes October. I've only been practicing for a few months, and because of where my name falls in the alphabet, it's time for me to already renew my Ohio medical license. No big deal. Here come the requisite questions. Have you had your license to practice medicine restricted for any reason? No. Do you have a substance abuse problem? No. Do you have enough continuing medical education credits to renew your license at this time? Yes. I'm fresh out of training. I'm a radiology virgin. I send off my renewal. So a few weeks later, on a Saturday morning, I received that letter from the Ohio Board of Medicine. Dear Dr. Rubio, your name has been selected at random for an audit of your Ohio medical license. Please send the following documents. And I'm reading this letter, and at the bottom in the fine print, I start to see all these stipulations, time restrictions, requirements of the continuing medical education credits, and I start to get a little nervous. But there's nothing I can do. It's Saturday. So I wait until Monday. Monday morning, I get to my office, and I steel myself. I call the board. Ohio Board of Medicine, this is Susan. Can I help you? I was just wondering if I had 8 continuing medical education credits, and I'd only had my license for a few months, and I renewed, and I got audited. How does that work? The Ohio Board of Medicine requires a minimum of 10 continuing medical education credits at the time that you renew your license. If you do not have the requisite number of continuing medical education credits, you will be found guilty of fraud. Fraud will be next to your name, publicly available on our website, permanently. Okay, that clarifies things. Thanks. All right. Now I have to tell my boss. So my boss at that time was Lane Donnelly. Lane Donnelly is the most famous person in my field. He's tall, handsome. He looks like Brad Pitt. He's very composed, very well published. I go down and I find him and I said, Dr. Donnelly, I need to talk to you. And he said, okay. And I said, no, in my office. And he looked at me and said, okay. I am so low down on the totem pole at this point, like I should not be registering in this man's universe. So he follows me down the hallway from the work area to my office, and I'm going to tell him in the most professional way that I can the situation that I am now encountering. So my knees slowly turn to rubber. We get to my office, and I close the door, and I break down into hysterics because I'm going to lose my license. I'm going to be found guilty of fraud, and I'm going to lose my job. This is a disaster. And he goes, calm down. Please, calm down. Just let me go talk to some people. And I said, okay. So Lane comes and finds me a few hours later, and he takes me aside. He's talked to some people in administration at the hospital, and he goes, Eva, I need to get you an attorney, quick. Okay. So Lane finds an attorney in Columbus, Ohio, who specializes in board remediation issues. Because that's what I am now. I'm a board remediation issue. I send this guy my documents, and I settle into wait for weeks and weeks. I turn gray. I can't eat. I can't tell anybody what I'm going through. My father's a physician. I can't tell my parents. The only person I could tell is my best friend, Jenny Payne. She owns a restaurant. She's the kind of person you could call at like 3 a.m. if you were found guilty of like stealing farm equipment or something. But I can't tell anyone else. Like, at this point, I lose this job, I might not get another job. Not with fraud next to my name. We are entering a recession. All the good jobs are drying up. All the bad jobs are drying up. I've got this big mortgage, which is now slowly sliding underwater. I've got $120,000 in student debt, and now my dog needs surgery on his spine. I feel like a total imposter at this point. Like, I was not supposed to be here. People come talk to me about starting research projects. I stare back at them. I can't tell them that they can't work with somebody who's going to be found guilty of fraud. And I just drive to work every day up and down Columbia Parkway, through Walnut Hills, get to my job, read my x-rays, try to stay focused, try not to miss anything on the x-rays. And finally, one day, the call from the attorney comes. So I step inside a private area to take the call. And he says, all right, Eva, I have reviewed all of your documents in detail. I have researched the law at length, and I have actually already presented your case to the Ohio Board of Medicine. And I got to tell you, the Ohio Board of Medicine is reading the law wrong. You are going to pass your audit. And I felt like I had been sprung from jail. And I eventually left Ohio. I left behind that feeling of being an imposter. I left behind a certain naivete that if you just do everything right, everything will work out fine. But I do still feel a little nervous when I see a police officer behind me. Thank you.